morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you are viewing this. Since this is on demand, it's available to you whenever you need it. And as are we, we'll be happy to answer questions once you've seen this. And have questions along the way, feel free to reach out to Allie or the TM group or us, whatever you need, so that we can help you with those questions. My name's Rich Fowler. I work with the partner channel at Progressus Advanced Project Accounting. I also have with me this morning Tasha Anspa. She'll be part of the presentation team that will show the actual software and get into some of the deep dive details. I'll give you a little bit of an overview of what Progressus Advanced Project Accounting does, why we exist, and where we can help you with Dynamics 365 Business Central. One of the things, well, why is it? There we go. Let's make it move. So one of the things that we always get asked is, what is Progressus Advanced Project Accounting? So Progressus adds significant advantages to Dynamics 365 Business Central jobs functionality, and in some very specific areas. So things that make your life easier, including project creation, project management, flexible project budgeting, and we're going to get into budgeting very deeply here in a second, because budgeting and planning tend to be a big deal for professional services firms. Mobility is also a big deal, so mobile time, mobile expense, mobile anything, mobile reporting, mobile viewing, mobile projects, all of that. And then the place where a huge deal comes in is the billing and invoicing options created specifically for the professional services industry. If you're a long timer in the software world, like some of us are, we got really tired of trying to build a bicycle and showing how building a bicycle in software works for a professional services industry. It doesn't, and that's one of the reasons that we exist. So we want to try to take care of some of the challenges that you face as a professional services firm. And there are some common ones, and we address these right out of the box. So managing project costs, managing project margins, it all comes down to how we make money and if we make money. So that's one of the keys. That's where we start, and managing the costs and the margins are a big deal. Also, visibility into the entire project portfolio. Managers, CFOs, CEOs need to see what's going on in my project, and I need to see that in real time, and I need to see that right now from wherever I happen to be. I don't want to wait for Friday for a report, and I can't wait till I get back in the office, because in some cases, some of us are never going back to the office. So I need to have it now, real time, accurate data wherever I happen to be. And we'll talk about that. And that's where we're going to start with Power BI. Timely billing, timesheets that are accurate, and capturing all of the time that's due us as a professional services company. We need to make sure we're capturing the things that we can bill our clients for. And we talk about that, and we'll show you how we can make that easier and extend the functionality of Business Central. Resource availability is always a question for professional services firms. So we want to talk about the resources, where they are, what they're doing, what they're not doing, what they should be doing, and we'll talk about that. Aligning sales and marketing, we'll talk about that. Managing material costs to projects. Depending on the type of professional services firm that you are, you may have to track material costs into your project. Can I assign something to a project and cost it against the project and add margin to it or not, depending on what it is? Can do that. And then forecasting, cash flow, pipeline, all those things, again, back to visibility into the performance of the project. That makes a difference. We talk about that right out of the box. And then we also leverage the strengths of Dynamics 365 Business Central where it comes to inefficient and disconnected systems, because we are part of Business Central. We are the advanced project accounting module inside of Business Central. It's not multiple systems here, there, and everywhere. Inside of BC, you have your ERP, your accounting. We add the project accounting. You have your CRM. You've got all of the ties to all of your Microsoft tools. So being able to do time entry from inside of your Outlook, being able to attach a meeting from your calendar to your time card and to have that auto-populate, to do those kinds of things makes a big difference, saves you time, saves you money, and that's what we're after. So those are the things that we're going to talk about today. It is a complex process to be a professional services company. We understand that. And the idea is not to make it more complex, it's designed to make it less complex. If you think about what a professional services company has to do just to do your job, all of these things come into play, whether it's projects and resources and expenses and intelligence and reporting and accounting. All of that has to tie off to the end of the month to financial reporting and reconciling all of that. Oh yeah, we had to bill our customers in there too. It's complex, and Progressus Advanced Project Accounting with Business Central makes that easier, and we'll show you exactly where we make that easier. So we talked about a lot of this already. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of slides. We talked about billing and invoicing options that help. These are some areas where we can extend the functionality of Business Central, and these apply to many professional services companies. So how do you do your billing? Is it percent complete? Is it time and material? Is it fixed? Is it a combination? All of those things we can do right out of the box. Do you have a retention or holdback policy, whether it's AP or AR? We can help with that. Do you pay when paid? You know, are you going to wait to get paid until you pay your subcontractors? We have a full subcontract module that we add that you can tie all of that together, track insurance, do pay when paid. Many professional services companies do it on subscription billing, whether we're selling software licenses or maintenance contracts or whatever the case may be. It's a subscription process, and we give you multiple options on how you can do that subscription billing, and then some other things that make life easier as well that get way down into the weeds that Tasha will talk about. We have full videos and fact sheets out on our website as well as on our YouTube site. You are welcome to all of that. And should you need anything specific, please feel free to reach out to TM Group or us, and we will happily get you whatever you might need. With that being said, let me introduce Tasha Anspaugh, and Allie, if you want to make her the presenter, we will get right into product and talk about how Progressus Advanced Project Accounting can help you first with visibility, and then once we know what we're seeing, where we get those numbers. So Tasha?
All right. You should be able to see my screen now.
We do.
All right. So these are the Power BI reports that come with Progressus out of the box. We offer 13 dashboards, and I'm just briefly going to cover a few of the highlights on these. The first one is the Projects Overview tab. As you can see, everything is color-coded, so you can clearly see if it's a good or bad project. You can see here, green's good, red's bad. And so we can actually drill down into these projects. And if I click on it, you'll notice everything around it is going to change. And we can right click and we can drill through these and go over to the project details. Once I do that, you're going to see here, it's going to have the percentage of completion. So this project is just getting started. You can see the profit that's budgeted, the profit that's actual. We can see all of the different budget versus actuals, and we can also look at a task level as well. So we can see our design and engineering phase, our water slide glass, our labor, management site visits. We have all of this information clearly. And again, we can push this out. We can go through even further. We can show it as a table just to see the actual raw data as well. The next one I like to point out is the project performance. Project performance, if you drill down into a project, it's going to change all of your graphs again to be specific for that actual project. We do have the top 5 projects by margin over here, and then we have some more budget versus actual costs and prices down here. The next one that I like to point out is our resource overview. So resource overview is going to look at all of the resources. However, I have one specific resource selected here. I have Guinevere, and we're going to look at Guinevere's capacity, her hours that she's actually worked, what she's been budgeted for, and what her utilization rate is. So I can see here she's 68% utilized. We can see her actual hours to budget, what she was budgeted for, what she's actually worked. And then we can also look at the resource planning tab. If I click, and let me get rid of this filter. So resource planning, this is going to let me look at my availability, my heat map across the company. This is going to show all of my resources and when they're actually available. So I could see if I needed to perhaps get a subcontractor to fill in, or if possibly I'm overstaffed and maybe I need to shuffle some people around. So it gives you a really quick way to see what your utilization rates are and when those resources are available. The next one is the resource details tab. And this one is going to be a actual Gantt analysis for your resources. It's going to show you what these resources have been doing. If I look over here, I can see that this project is overdue. I was budgeted 50 hours. It isn't complete yet. We've only done 30 hours. So this is overdue. And all of these will change depending on if you're clicked on a certain project and task. It's going to show you your utilization rate. It's going to show all of that information. The very last one that I want to point out is the top and bottom rankings. This is going to show you your top 10 projects and your bottom 10 projects. Which ones are the most profitable projects? Which ones are the least profitable? You can also look at project managers so you can see who's actually bringing in the most revenue with their projects. So with that being said, that is a brief overview of the Power BI dashboards. Again, there are 13 that come with the product, and that was about 6 of them that I show briefly. So you could definitely get into the weeds and spend a lot of time with all of your data in these dashboards. With that, we are going to go into the actual product now. So when you install Progressus, you get 5 additional role centers. Those 5 role centers are going to be your project executive, a project manager, a line manager, a standard time and expense user who's only going to be able to see their timesheets and enter expense sheets. And then you're also going to have an accounting manager. So somebody who needs to come in and do all that project billing, somebody who needs the subcontract retention, all of those types of things. What we've done, we wanted to make this easy. We know that there's a lot of time that goes into creating projects. So we have created a project wizard, which pulls all of our templates together. So if I come in here and I go to my create project wizard, it's going to ask me to pick the number series, or I can give my project a number if I want to generate my own numbers. If I just leave the number series, it's auto going to generate those numbers for me. So I can just come in here and I can enter my project. So if it was software, whatever the case may be, just a description that you can search on later. And then we have project templates. So project templates, you'll notice I have quite a few here. We can do, you can create these yourself. So I'm going to do a standard time and materials project with retention on it. This is going to autofill all the information that I had already selected. So it's for a customer. It is an order. You can also create a project or a quote and then turn that quote into an actual open order later on after you submit it to the customer as well. I'm going to go ahead and stick with doing a standard order. And then we go ahead and select the customer. So it's pulling my standard BC customer list. I say next. And then I have my project posting group. So this is information that I had automatically selected. Your project starting date is going to go to whatever you have set up as your working date. You can put an end date if needed. And then any type of discounts that you're going to add onto this project. So if you do a 5% discount for this specific customer, you could enter that information here. You can also set that on that project template that I had selected. Next, here is the pipeline. So since this is sold, I'm going to go ahead and select it's sold. And then active budget version. So this is one of the huge differences, and this is what makes this absolutely awesome. You can have an unlimited number of budget versions. So we have, I'm going to select my anchor budget version. And then if we needed to do forecasting monthly, if we needed to make change orders, we could create a new budget version to be able to handle those and always be able to reference back to the previous budgets. Next is the project manager. So you would come in, you'll select the project manager, and then also the person responsible. So person responsible is maybe not a project manager, but somebody else who can come in and make approval, somebody else who can make budget changes. Next is going to be, there's a couple questions. Do you want to use a task template? Absolutely. So that's going to be my work breakdown structure. A scheduled billing is going to be for those fixed fee projects. And then we have our invoicing setup. What kind of invoice do you want this to be? I'm going to go ahead and say next here. And all of this information actually populated from the project template that I had selected. So I can see here, it's my time. I'm going to do time and material across the board for this. If it were a percent complete, all of my percent complete information would be filled in. You can also do fixed price. And then we have all of our dimensions. So my dimensions were created or set up on the project template, so they auto filled in for me. I'm going to go ahead and hit finish, but it's going to pop up and say, hey, wait, you wanted to do some more things. So here I can come in and I can grab the work breakdown structures that will actually fit for this project. So you don't have to create the same task lines over and over and over and over again. You can just create them once in your templates, just grab the template and assign it to your project. So I'm going to go ahead and grab all of the tasks. The next question is going to be my invoice setup. What do you want your invoice to look like? So I'm going to go ahead and grab a detailed invoice for this project, and my project's been created. So generally, if I'm not talking, you can create a project in about 90 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my project list, and you'll see here I have a budget versus usage over here in this column. This lets me quickly see where my projects are. Green is good, yellow means it's getting close to that threshold limit that we set, and then obviously there is a red that means that we're over our budget. So I'm going to go ahead and search for project 203, which is the one that we had just created. I'm going to open it up, and you'll notice we have the project subform. We have our project plan. All this information did populate. And then here's where I can select the alert percentage. So if I want to know when my project's getting to be 80%, I can come in, set that, and now I can also turn on email alerts. So my project manager will get an email every time, or anytime that my project gets close to that 80%. So down here, my project subform, you'll notice I have my project tasks, my type, the contract type, the descriptions, who the project manager is. You can have a different project manager for each task if you need to. And then we have, if we just scroll through, you'll notice that there are a number of columns in here. I think there's 110 different columns, so you can make this the way that you want it to actually see. You can see that information that's relevant to you. So now that we have our project, we are ready to start billing. Or budgeting, I'm sorry. We can start budgeting. We can start entering time against it, and my project's ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my budget screen. So we have the budget matrix, and budget matrix allows me to come in and I can budget my resources, my resource groups if needed. I can budget for expenses and items as well. So I'm going to go ahead and budget for just a resource. I know since I assigned Guinevere to this project as a project manager, I know that I'm going to need her a lot on this project. So I can come in and I can just start entering the hours. This is budgeting currently by week, but I'm able to just come, I can change it to day if I want to budget by day. We can also budget by month or year. So I'm just going to go through, we'll just enter some hours real quick for Guinevere, and then once we get all of those populated, we'll be able to go in and see those actual hours on the project subform. So we just come through, enter our hours, and then once those hours are entered, if we come back out of here, you'll notice that it'll start to add total budgeted costs for this specific project. So once we have our budget, once we have our project, our resources can start entering time against it. So we do have time and expense. We have our timesheet entry. I can use my current timesheet boxes here, or I can just drill into my open timesheets. So if I go into open timesheets, I can select the week that I want to enter my time for. And then I can come in and I can select my project and task. So if I want to select a specific project, I can come in here, and this is all set based on permissions. So if I have permissions set on the project where only the people who are scheduled on it are allowed to enter time, it's only going to show for those people. So I have my project and my task here, and you'll notice up here at the top, I have 8. And then I also have some blue dots. So the 8 is actually representative of how many hours I have of capacity that day. I'm scheduled to be working 8 hours this day. So I'm going to go ahead and just enter some time. And there's one additional thing that I want to point out. If we drill down into the specific timeline entry here, we can enter our invoice comments. This is specifically important because those customers need to know what we're doing when we're billing our time to them. So if I needed to come in and I need to enter my invoice comments, I would just enter them here. And then this information is all going to translate over to my timesheet for me, or to my invoices. So from here, I can go ahead and submit my timesheet. And then I also have the option to create an expense sheet as well. So if I go into my open expense sheets, I don't have any, but I can go ahead and create a new one. And then we can scroll down here and I can just, again, select the project and task that I was working on. Where does this need billed to? So I'm going to go ahead and grab that project. We'll select the task as well. And then I can select the payment type. So how was this paid? If it was an employee paid, I can grab this. And once I do this, it's actually going to generate a purchase invoice for me. So that way I can pay back my resource. It's a hotel. And if I scroll over, we can enter a purpose. We can enter some type of comments that are relevant to the customer. And then you just enter your quantity. So if it's 5 days, the unit cost is automatically going to pull over from the expense card if I have one set up. If not, I can edit this to make it something different. And then you'll notice here, it shows everything. So I do have a unit price on here and it is chargeable to the customer. One other thing that I want to point out is our expense attachments. So you can drill down on your expense attachments. You can select a file, you can take a picture, and this is device agnostic. So you can use the Business Central app with Progressus installed and be able just to take pictures of your receipts and do your expense sheet directly from your phone while you're traveling. I'm gonna go ahead and say close, and then we can submit our expense sheet. This is gonna go off to our layers of approval. So generally, we have 3 layers of approval that you can set up. They can be different, you can mix and match. If I go into time approval, we have 3 different layers. Again, first layer is going to be my project manager or that person responsible that we had selected. You'll see down here, I have my project 203 that we're working on currently. And I can drill down and I can actually see the hours that are created here, or the hours that are making up this entry. So these are all the different timeline entries that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and say close, and I'm going to approve that line. The next layer of approval is going to be the line manager, and they are the second layer. So this is the person's direct supervisor. So you'll see here I have 40 hours. We can approve this line as well. And I only have 2 layers of approval set up on my time. Now on my expenses, it's the same approval process, but I have 3 layers of approval set up over there. So you can see here, we can go over and we can drill down into this expense. We can look at those receipts and then we can post from there. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this. I have my second layer, same concept. This one, again, like I said, does have the 3rd layer of approval on it. The 3rd layer of approval is going to be the project executive. So you can think of a project executive as a super user. So I can come in here and I'm going to go ahead and say post. And now that usage should be over on my project. Now it's going to be something I have over there so I can actually bill my customer for that usage. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up our project again. And you'll notice it's green now because I'm not over budget. So if I open this guy up and then we come in here and you can see that I actually have something to invoice. I have hours in here that I need to invoice. And invoicing can be done here in our invoice suggestion list. If I open up the invoice suggestion, there's a couple things I want to point out. First is the non-open entry section. Anything that is not chargeable to the customer or we've already billed the customer for it is going to show up here in the non-open entries. And then we also have the invoice suggestion lines. So this is everything that needs to be billed to my customer that's chargeable. You can see everything here is approved. It's marked as chargeable. So once we get to this stage, I'm going to go ahead and decide that it's time to bill. But I don't want to bill for all of the hours right now. So I can go ahead and uncheck approved for this specific line, and it's not going to generate the invoice on that line. That line will be there for me next time I want to bill. I also have what's called clothesline. So if I come in here and I decide, probably should only bill the customer for 4 of these nights. They shouldn't have stayed a 5th night. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to invoice for 4 of those days, and then I'm going to write off the last day. So that way it's no longer chargeable to my customer. So once we have that done, I can come in, I can say process, and I can go ahead and create my invoice. I'm going to create for everything. If you wanted to only create for your resources or expenses, you could go ahead and select those options here. But I'm going to go ahead and invoice for everything. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay. And what it's doing now is it's looking through all of those project entries for this specific project to see what it needs to invoice. So there's my invoice number, and it did create one. So if I close it, I can come in and I can show this document now. And this is my invoice. So you'll notice I only have those 4 days or 4 lines that I've worked for hours, and then I have my 4 days at the hotel. So we are back into our standard invoices. Now I can come in and I can just go ahead and post this sales invoice. It's going to go through, it's going to post, and then it's done. So I have all of my sales lines in here now. It's posted, we're good to go. So the next thing I want to point out is our reserved purchases for that expense. So if I come into reserved purchase, you'll notice here that I have this $500. That means it is an open purchase document that has not yet been posted. These are purchase lines. So if I go to process and show my document, you'll notice here this is a standard purchase invoice for Business Central. And it's going to pull in my vendor name. It's going to have all the contact information. And then over here where the vendor invoice number is, it's going to show you what the project number is, and then also that expense sheet number. All of the information does come over here, and then you can post it, and then you'll be able just to pay your employee from the payment journal. So once that's done, it's again on your project and you're good to go. There's one other thing that I do want to point out before I hand it back to Rich, and that is the subcontract module. So we have our subcontract module, and we have subcontract vendors. Again, these are standard vendors that you have already set up in Business Central. All you do is say, yes, they're a subcontractor, and you can come in here and be able to create subcontracts with them. I have a few subcontracts already created. If I open up this subcontract here, you'll notice I can scroll all the way down to the bottom. It's going to have my original value. It's going to have my revised value. And then if there's any change orders, those would all be set up here. So if we open this one up, I can come down and I can see what the lines are actually for. So I can see here that I have subcontract, it's for resource hours, and I have $100 an hour. When the subcontractor decides that it's time for me to pay them, they would come in and I would create my payment request. So I can come in, I'm just going to go ahead and say new payment request. I select the subcontract. And then if we scroll down, we're going to go ahead and say load subcontract items, and my line will pop in here. So this is going to pull in every single line that's on that subcontract, and I can select the ones that I want, or I can enter the requested units. You can enter a total request percent, you can enter an amount, or you can do units. Completely up to you, whatever makes most sense. So if you say we're 25% of the way done, it's going to request 25%, so 200 units. There are approvals that you can set up if you have approvals on the subcontract. So if you have 3 layers of approval that you need and 3 different people that you need to go through, you can select those here. I'm going to go ahead and say submit this because we are ready to submit our subcontract payment request. When that's done, it would usually go through the approval process. Mine's already approved because I didn't have any approvers. Once that's done, I can come into my subcontract purchase invoices. They're going to be listed here. These are the purchase invoices that I need to generate now for a subcontract. So we can go through, we can create the invoice now. So I can create the purchase invoice for this specific line. If there's something wrong with this actual line, it'll actually show me the error message here, so I don't have to go hunt and peck and try to find what's going on with that actual, why there's something wrong with the transaction. You can also drill down into this and it'll open up those payment request details. So you can go through and easily see the total requested, the amount requested. And that is Progressus in a nutshell. Rich Fowler.
Thanks, Tasha. So as we said, this was going to be a quick overview of some of the things that Progressus Advanced Project Accounting extends the functionality of Dynamics 365 Business Central. As we all know, we could do a 4-hour presentation on all of the benefits of Business Central, as well as 4 hours on all of the benefits of Progressus Advanced Project Accounting. But we didn't think you'd sit still for an 8-hour demo, so that's okay. This was intended to give you an overview and an idea of the things that can be done. We are happy to talk in detail about anything you want to talk about pertaining to the Advanced Project Accounting module with Business Central. Happy to help and really appreciate the TM Group's offer to let us show this to your customers.